God, I feel like hell tonight. Tears of rage I cannot hide. I'll be the last to help you understand. Are you strong enough to be my man?
All right. It is Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, Todd Veinotte, right here on News 95.7. And I'm not responsible for the music choice. I want to let that be known right out of the gate, Clinton.
Well, you know what? Everybody has a job.
That's true.
And you know what? You get to pick the music Monday to Friday. I don't know. I think probably Katie gets a little bit of the decision-making power.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm sure she likes having power as well. But
Yeah.
I assume you know, as the host and I guess executive producer of the show currently, you get a little bit of the, insight to the music. And this time we have our producers here as well, but I also like the control. I don't know.
Do you want to give them a shout out?
It's a hard one.
Do you want to give the shout out to the producers here, the production team?
Our production team, I mean, there's no better place to be. You know, we're here on the weekend on News 95.7, and, we have a great team here keeping the show going. And you know what? We're in season 3 of the show. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So you're going to mention any names?
Yes,
or no?
we have our producers here. We have Jonathan Snow and our co-producer here, Bethany Diamond, which we didn't give her a shout out last time because maybe she was a bit shy, but now this time we're live on the air. Why not?
All right. So we are live in the air on News 95.7. For those who don't know exactly what you do and where we're at in this cool location right here in, what is this, George Street?
We're in George Street. We're in downtown Halifax, and you're listening to us live here.
Yeah.
I've been a mortgage broker for 15 years, and we have an office over in Dartmouth, and we've just recently opened, and we're actually building a brand new location here in downtown Halifax. And, we're really going the opposite of what everyone's doing. A lot of people are working at home and, maybe not investing in offices and all these things. And, I think we're really bucking the trend. Now, it's not against safety because, I think safety is so important. And we don't have customers coming in right now. But, we're really believing in brick and mortar. And I think that mortgage lending is super important. It's one of the biggest transactions of people's life. I think buying a house is, part of the Canadian dream. Yeah. And we're part of the process here in Halifax. And we help clients, all across Atlantic Canada and really across this country.
Yeah, and you're really showing a jolt of confidence into the economy here in downtown Halifax, right? Because as you mentioned, the trend for some is out of the downtown, but you believe in the downtown. You live here, and it's a jolt of confidence, right?
I certainly do believe, and you know what? I continue to believe, and I will invest my time and my money in this location. And, I'm still going to be in Dartmouth. Dartmouth is really my baby. I've been in Dartmouth for almost 15 years, and I'm going to continue being there. But this is really the next step in our evolution. I'm super excited about it, and, people are going to come back downtown.
Okay, so there's all kinds of things that we can talk about. I guess first off, the being a mortgage broker. And again, this is elementary to some, a rehash, if you will, but we have new listeners all the time. Mm-hmm. So what is the fundamental advantage to a mortgage broker over a traditional bank mortgage, whatever the term would be?
Yeah, maybe like a bank employee, whether you're, an advisor or maybe you're a mobile mortgage specialist. I think the big difference is that we have access to about 40 different lenders, and we're really biased to the consumer, not the lender. Where oftentimes if you're dealing with a specific bank, you're just able to get the products that they offer. And everybody's situation's different. And that's why we're really able to look at income, assets, and credit and just figure out what the best solution is for the consumer. And, hopefully we're able to put them in a great, solution. And I think that we're really relationship-based. And I think at one time the banks used to be relationship lenders. But I don't think they're in the relationship business anymore, because there's a lot of turnover in the branches, and I can tell you there's a lot of branches that are either closed or reduced hours. I can tell you even now with this what's going on with COVID here in Halifax, that certainly they have reduced hours. And luckily, we're still here, we're still answering the phone, and we're still doing transactions every day.
How often do you think, do you have a client in front of you, whatever, an individual couple, whatever it might be, and you think to yourself, if I were beholden to one lender here, the bank that I was working for, this would not work. But because I have the diversity of lenders, I'm going to be able to pull this off.
I literally see it every day.
Every single day.
Every day.
Yeah.
And you know what? We email or the realtor after every mortgage funds, whether the realtor referred us to client or not, because we really want to build those relationships. And I think it's so important. And, I email the realtor, and sometimes I'll give a little bit of my 2 cents worth of like how the transaction went, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes I say to the realtor, I'm not sure if this would have happened anywhere else because no one would have put this much effort into the file. I look at these files, and if it's me doing it or if it's someone else on our team, I look at the file and I see how complex it is. And sometimes there's 50 files or 50 documents in the file. And not everyone maybe would do that much due diligence. And I also don't know if every lender would put that much effort into it to really see it to fruition, see it to funding, seeing to the closing date. But we're motivated. And I can tell you, we're doing a lot of transactions. Last year, here in our office, we did 680 transactions. And this year, we're pacing for over 800 transactions. So, we're certainly seeing a lift in the amount of transactions that are happening. And I think a little bit of that is obviously due to the real estate market. There's more demand in the market currently than there is supply. So obviously that's something. But that's increasing the price. I'm not 100% convinced it's really increasing the amount of transactions because there's only so much inventory out there for people to buy.
Right.
The one thing I think that's really positively impacting our business here is answering the phone. No one answers the phone anymore. And we live answer every call that we possibly can. And we have 3 really great people that answer the phone here every day. And I think it's so helpful because sometimes you just have a quick question. You don't get a quick answer or an experienced answer from a call center. Or, if you call most banks, you have to go through an automated attendant. And who wants to hit 7 and 5 and then 3? And then you have to put in your debit card number. And then you're getting someone on the other end of the phone that is trying to deal with many different questions and products. Here, we're only doing mortgage lending all day, every day.
Are you concerned at all about, you talked about the hot market, and this is going on across the country, Toronto, everywhere.
It's
every
not
market.
just here. It's not
just here. And some have used the term bubble, whatever you want to use. Are you concerned at all about the market in Halifax and its sustainability?
I'm not concerned about the units balancing out because you know what? There will be more supply that comes online. That's just reality. Markets will always balance themselves. What I am concerned about is some people think the price is going to continue going up and up. I'm not sure it's going to. I think our real estate was likely underpriced at one time. And now I think we've kind of leveled up. Do I think the prices are going to continue increasing indefinitely? No, because I don't think that we're going to be Toronto. I don't think that we're going to be Vancouver. But I think that likely our real estate was undervalued for a long time. And we've never seen a boom here in Halifax. And I've said this before. Yeah. We've had very steady growth for years. Like 30 years, we've had steady growth of like 1%, 2%, 3%. And now we're starting to see some of these double-digit growth. And, I think one of the reasons is we have a great quality of life here. It's very safe. We may be having a current spike right now, and that's going to balance itself out. But overall, we've done very well. And our economy is not tied into oil and gas. I can tell you, it's a tough time in Alberta, and it's a tough time in Newfoundland. And luckily in Nova Scotia, we have our little microeconomy here. And although we've really been closed down to the rest of Atlantic Canada and really the rest of the country, we've done quite well over the last 12 months.
Yeah, lots of government employees here in HRM. Of course, you get the provincial capital. You've got all the military. On and on it goes. And that, again, that just creates, you must have a lot of military clients, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, we do. And I think about 30% of our clients are military. I think there's
30%?
That's a lot, eh?
Yeah.
And it may not be like both borrowers are military, but maybe one out of the two are military. Yeah. But we certainly see a lot of military clients, and I think it's because where we are positioned in the city. We have our office over on Wise Road, which obviously is very close to Shearwater. Yep. And now we have our office downtown, which is very close to the dockyard. And many people who even work at the dockyard work in or live in Dartmouth, and they're crossing the bridge. They're driving by one of our offices. I think it's a convenience. And I think that, we're really here to help. And if we're doing a lot of military type transactions, we're familiar with the needs that military members have. We understand you might get posted. Yeah. We want to make sure you're going to be protected, that if you do sell your house, that you're either going to have a very low penalty or no penalty if you do sell. And we deal with a lot of military programs. And there is one of the big banks out there, quote unquote, that has an alliance with the military. And I think some members think that that's the only lender that has programs for military, but there's lots of other options out there.
What do you want to talk about in the next segment?
You know what? I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the housing market, and we're going to talk about rates. You know, lots of hot questions about the rates and, you know, what's better, a variable or fixed today. And I think that's ever changing. So we'll look into that.
Awesome stuff. We'll be right back. It's Mortgage 101, your guide to home ownership with Clinton Wilkins and myself, Todd Veinotte, here on News 95.7. We'll be right back.